That night, Kyiv did not sleep, even though the city was silent. The silence was wrong, too even, too careful, the kind that comes not after prayer, but before a sentence is carried out. People said, when the wind does not touch the banners on the walls, it means someone has already touched fate. Svyatobor stood on the platform by the gates, counting his heartbeats, because there was nothing else left to count. He was the key keeper, a man who neither fought nor judged, yet decided when the city opened and when it became a trap. Dawn was close. From the direction of Podil came a sound, not a cry, not a wail, but the dull breathing of a crowd. Svyatobor tensed. That is how people breathe when they no longer beg, but have not yet chosen violence. Then he saw them. The torches were held low. No stones were clenched in fists. They simply stood there, hundreds of them, in silence. At the center of the crowd lay a body, not thrown, not hidden, placed so that it could not be ignored. On the chest lay the prince's mark, carved with a knife into a wooden board. Cold crept slowly from Svyatobor's heels to his throat. This was not a riot. This was a challenge. At dawn, he was summoned to the prince. The chamber was dark, though the sun had already risen. The prince sat motionless. The voivode stood beside him, gripping his sword hilt as if afraid it might escape. "The people have gathered," the voivode said. "They demand judgment." "I am the judgment," the prince replied. His gaze settled on Svyatobor. "You hold the gates?" Svyatobor nodded. "Today they must remain closed," the prince said. "At any cost?" "Even if the city suffocates?" Svyatobor asked quietly. The voivode turned sharply. "Watch your tongue." The prince raised his hand. "If the gates fall," he said calmly, "power falls with them. And with power, order. You understand?" Svyatobor did. But he also understood something else. An order that survives only behind closed gates is already dead. He was dismissed without further words. That was worse than a threat. In the streets, people looked through him, not with hatred, with expectation, as if he carried not a key, but an answer. An old woman by the well whispered, "If not today, then tomorrow. Blood is already here." "Whose?" Svyatobor asked. "Ours. Or yours." In Podil he saw what he feared most. Among the crowd were warriors, former ones, broken ones, men who knew how to hold a sword, but no longer wished to hold their silence. "We are not here to slaughter," one of them said. "We are here to speak." "And if they deny you a voice?" Svyatobor asked. The man met his eyes. "Then the city will speak for itself." When the bells rang, it was already too late to change anything. The crowd moved, slowly, surely. The druzhina appeared on the walls. Arrows were set to strings. The voivode waited for a signal. Svyatobor stood by the gates, holding the key. It was heavy, not with iron, but with decisions that could not be undone. The prince stepped onto the wall. "Back!" he shouted. "This is an order!" The crowd did not answer. Svyatobor understood. If he did nothing, someone else would act instead. He looked at the key, then at the people, then at the walls meant to protect, but now dividing the city from itself. And then he turned the key. The gates did not fly open. They opened only enough for someone to pass through. The crowd froze. The voivode drew his sword. "Close them," he shouted. Sviatobor did not move. "If blood is spilled," he said loudly, "it will be on all of us, not only those who came." The prince stared at him for a long time. Too long. "You betray me," the prince said. "No," Sviatobor answered. "I betray fear." The people entered, without shouting, without running. They walked as one walks to judgment. That night there was no massacre. There were words. There was silence. There was truth, long ignored, now impossible to silence. By morning, Sviatobor was gone from the gates. His name vanished from the lists. The key was taken. Some say he went south, some say he was never seen again. But the old still say, Kyiv stands not because its gates are strong, but because once they were opened before the city drowned in blood,